and the most dearest and the nearest and dearest ones with him, and all they fell victim. So this brings a totally different picture.
Exactly, it does.
72%,
Yes.
according to one narration, and there is another narration according to which there are nearly 113 persons. They were, and also there was a John Christian. He was also accompanying Imam Hussein. According to another tradition, and also 3 Hindus from subcontinent, they were also included in that caravan of Imam Hussein, who fell martyrs.
And it is a message itself too.
Yes, it has been mentioned in history.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right,
Okay,
but then
well-
very quickly moving on to Professor Saeed, the way Professor Saeed, now obviously we do look after ourselves, we do look after our physical attributes. Is it because that we are spiritually so weak that we cannot actually be a person of symbol, that we cannot be a person with full of characteristics which are
Virtue.
Imam was? Yes. Why can't we be so righteous? Why can't we be under control of our own selves? Why cannot we do that? Why cannot we achieve that?
Actually, first I have to understand what is truth,
Yes.
what is lie, truth and lie. The understanding of truth in the view of Imam Hussain, that's entirely different than the understanding of truth in the view of the other opponent, Yazid. So we must understand first why he has the only person or his family members who were loving him, very close to him, why he was ready to sacrifice. Why? This is a big question,
It is.
Lot of people in the whole region, they were just following what Yazid was saying. But here, he did not wanted to, obey or take a bath, have the bath in the hand of, actually he wanted to just ask him to obey. For what? He said no. So here Imam Hussain proved as a symbol of the truth and the sacrifice in that sense that moe baaj Muhammada jog nahi, sir sajjana de pandwal nahi. That this head is not for you, this head is not for your doorstep, this head is not for your kingdom, this head is not for the worldly affairs, but this head belongs to the Creator. This head belongs to God.
Yes.
So here when he says, Jo to prem khilan ka chao, sir tar tali, mori gali ao, sir dijiye, kaan na kijiye, is marg pair dijiye. The path which actually was following Imam Hussain, that was entirely different than the path which actually we are following in our day-to-day life, unfortunately.
Yes. So
Here-
how are you going to differentiate in between these two paths, and then how do you think that we can rejuvenate things so that we can be on that righteous path?
It's very hard. Again, we have to understand the value of sacrifice.
Okay, then let's get
Why
started.
he had? Because he understands the truth. The truth, what is the truth? To identify that we are the kids of God. We are the, but what we say that the word, we are the God's accountable to God.
Yes.
Yes,
Not
we are.
of the other worldly, any of our bosses, any other sort of the system, what we have here around. That's why we don't understand the real truth, what he was doing actually.
But then,
Okay,
Said Sahib, this fight for dominance have been there since the world existed. This fight for dominance have always been there. So now, how do you think that we can make our way without being influenced or without influencing other people?
This is not the question of influencing people, This is question of your own inner, your will, Either you understand the truth or you don't understand the truth. What is truth? Truth is that you should be a loving human being.
Yes.
You should respect all humanity, even other than the humanities, You should follow the path, what the Holy Quran says, or what the holy men of the word, the Prophet, they said. So this is the truth. So mean that you don't become like a cruel person. You don't become a cruel like a ruler. You don't become cruel officer,
Yes.
Here people, they believe in Quran, they believe in Allah, they believe in other Imam Hussain, but they act against Imam Hussain. They act against God. They act against all. This all is a hypocrisy which we are having here. So first of all, we must understand that why we do so, because for our worldly gains.
Okay.
worldly gains.
Okay,
So
so
worldly gains are dominant, whereas there with Imam Hussain,
They weren't.
the worldly gain was not dominant, but the obedience of God.
okay,
nature.
so this is a very important point that
Yeah.
you've said here that which Shahzad is asking as well. How do we bridge that gap? Because every year, as Dr. Jamil said, we commemorate this this month. We remember the 9th and we remember the 10th of Muharram. But why is it that we still have that gap? Why is that gap still there? If we are, so every year we are trying to remind ourselves of this is how we should be. This is the sacrifice that was given. How do we come to that realization in the 21st century? If I can ask Dr. Jamil.
That's a very good question. Of course, this gap can be bridged by doing many things, including the first and foremost to acquaint the people with the personality of Imam Hussain. Who was Imam Hussain? Still we do not know the real dimension of the personality of Imam Hussain, that he was the dearest and nearest to the Prophet. He was a grandson. He was the son of his dearest and nearest daughter, Fatima az-Zahra, the dearest and nearest son of his soul, whom he identified as his soul, Imam Ali. So the daughter on one hand and his son-in-law on the other hand, and then Imam Hussain, the offspring. Imam Hussain, of course, he was next to the Prophet in point of character, in point of hilm and also knowledge and the wisdom which he inherited from Imam Ali. But the first foremost thing which we should take into consideration, that Imam Hussain was not fighting only for ulterior motives, but he was fighting for the sake of emancipation of humanity from within and without.
Okay.
There are two kind of shackles. The shackles of reason, shackles which we place on human emotions, self-assertion, and then shackles on human intuition and imagination and thinking. Thinking, imagination, human emotions and intellect.
Okay.
They are the principal objective and aim in the entire venture which we normally identify with this Karbala.
Right.
Imam Hussain emancipated human reason. He emancipated human thinking and human imagination and also human intuition.
Right.
And what is the result that we see when you go to Iraq? There's a different culture. In Syria, you find a different culture. And then you go to here and there, many places where there is a commemoration and recognition of this event. You find a different culture and civilization.
Okay.
In point of its impact on human psyche, on human spirit. You people, loving people, they love you. They shed tears. Tears are very important. Even when weeping is more important than laughing.
Yes.
And there is a philosophy which is, you know better than me, this is existentialism. What is the crux of this philosophy? Human tragedy. Human tragedy is a reality.
Absolutely.
Even in Aristotle, he has written on tragedy.
Absolutely.
Tragedy is the most important thing.
Okay.
It is through this tragedy of Karbala that human emotion find ventilation, sublimation,
Beautifully said.
and realization.
But sir, why do we need this ventilation in the first place? Is it essential for us? Is it essential for us?
Yes, very essential. When we, of course, as Heidegger says, that man finds himself thrown in this world, the world of uncertainty.
Anything can happen at any time.
Anything can happen
Yes.
to man, in point of pain, in point of misery, in point of death, this and that. So man gets frustrated. He falls victim to despair. He loses his heart and spirit. And then when he commemorates, he sees this event commemorated, he feels rejuvenated, inspired. That look at Imam Hussain and his kith and kin. They fell one after another victim, and they fell, but Imam Hussain didn't lose his heart. Even at the last moment, he was full of spirit, because he was certain that this life continues even after physical death. Physical death doesn't mean this annihilation of human spirit, human soul.
Exactly.
Okay.
But sir,
Okay.
then at the same time, don't you think that we have actually changed our role models? Don't you think that children these days, they get influenced by Bill Gates and Stephen Hopkins, other than the role models our religion have given us?
But this is the responsibility that falls on us,
Yes.
because it falls on us, because we are responsible for it.
So then how do you think we can change these things?
We
now?
can change, because we should make this event a recurrent commemoration, not just restricted to a one day or 10 days in the year, then we celebrate and commemorate and then we become oblivious. No, we should recurrently, consistently commemorate this event
Okay.
in letter and spirit.
Absolutely. Okay, let me ask Munir this question. Dr. Jamil mentioned about, humans, what is the crux of it? It is human tragedy. From Aristotle to now, these are the things that stay with us. But, these are, Greek tragedies, they're plays. These are something someone's made up.
Yes.
So, being used in that same kind of brush, what's the significance of this event in regards to that?
That's the difference.
Yeah.
You yourself pointed out.
So that's my question.
Catharsis, but what Jamil Sahab has said, it was Aristotle's theory of catharsis, that tragedy at one level is important for human catharsis, and that was the level on which Greek tragedy deals with.
Okay.
That was out of mythology. That was not a real world story. It's very important to have a lifelike model of that.
Okay. Okay.
Then the other point for that, existentialism.
I'm sorry, but I'll stop you. Since we agree that it is important to have a life-like a role model, for example, Hazrat Imam Hussain, about whom we are talking. So, since we are agreeing to it, why aren't we practicing it then?
We aren't practicing it. It's more of the socio-political question.
Okay.
It's more
So
of a
would you mind
socio-political
answering that
question.
too?
Yes, in the medieval ages and after that, in the age of enlightenment, Renaissance, man held greater power. Man was considered to be the center of universe. Everything in the world revolved around man. Now the age in which we are living, that is postmodern age. Now we have replaced man from the center of universe and placed product with a price tag on it in the center. Everything in the current world is revolving around a commodity with an exchange value.
So are you trying to say, or are you trying to convey that it is going to come down to the psychology of the mankind now? So now do you think that we have to tame this particular psychology
Yes, we have
and the mindset itself?
Yes.
Then how do you think media needs to play its role? How do you think the print media needs to play its role? How do you think the individuals need
Not
to play
only
their role?
media and print media, everywhere society should look into the metaphysical aspects of the events, not just into the happenings, but into the lesson.
I think I'm going to related what Sir was actually mentioning. Now, for example, Sir was earlier mentioning that it's a recurring event. We have to remember it not for 10 days, not for a month,
Yes.
but we have to keep on practicing and we have to keep on preaching our kids about it. Now, for example, let's talk about media itself. 9th of Muharram, 10th of Muharram, we have very extensive programs which obviously relate to the incident of Karbala itself. But other than that, for example, I think I'm going to talk about our show too. How many times do we highlight such incidents? And how many times do we dedicate an airtime which is particularly for such shows? We do not do that. So now who is supposed to do that?
What I am trying to say, it's not very much necessary to repeat the incident, commemorating that on media or on day-to-day basis. The need is to remember the lesson taught by it. We should remember the lesson taught by this event. Remember that we should not make hands, we should not make this oppressor strong. We should not do the things which are not righteous.
But our decision making depends on media these days.
Yes.
So,
Well,
for example, if we are going to see a commercial where a mother is telling, where a mother is conveying that there will be no stains after the first wash, our ladies, they are going to go outside, get that washing powder, particularly,
they should
even
learn
if it's
after the first
expensive or not.
mistake.
So just because you said that earlier we were the center of the world itself, that's what you mentioned, but now you said that it's a price tag and it's a commodity. Who did that? I think it was media in the first place, by the made the print.
Man.
No,
It was man
it was not
funded.
media.
Obviously.
Media altogether. It was not media altogether. Your socio-political structure is responsible for it. That is responsible for it.
So then what changes
The
do
world
you think-
outlook is.
Professor Said, I think I'll move on to you. What changes do you think we need to make right now?
It's a really big question. What change? It's not a small just answer.
Take your time.
What he is saying, media and print media, whatever, the auxiliary